minutes left in heat number 19, so I hope everybody in 20 is checked in. All right, I've got the results for heat number 17.
This is my friend Jackie, and she's doing the contest today, so we want to wish her good luck.
Well, I hold 5 U.S. titles at Huntington Beach and the Makaha.
I do like coalition contests, which are the clubs, and I usually do 3 or 4 of them, maybe 5. Sometimes the Doheny contest they have at churches, and then just a few nose riding contests also.
I do a lot of things to help the sport. I do a lot of contests. I do a lot of volunteer work.
I like to compete just because I like to push myself. A lot of the contests have and still will be judged by high performance longboarding. I just can't resort back to that. You know, I love what I do. I just do it just to have fun, hang out with the guys, talk story. That's why I do the competing. Surfing to me has been a blessing and a curse. It's been the fork in my road. You know, if I didn't have surfing, I definitely would be, who knows. And since I did find surfing, it's made me who I am now. It hasn't made me rich, but I'm happy. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Awkward bull in the china shop most of the time. The more balance I can learn to keep myself grounded and moving in a positive, controlled direction, the better. I have been married for over 10 years. I have 2 beautiful children. To actually live with them, with jobs, with responsibilities, I have to have that outlet where I can express myself. So my talents are expressing myself through athletics. Surfing is just one of the things I'm the absolute best at in my own physical skills. Southern California, man, that's where surfing starts in the United States. That's where it all blossoms from. That's where it all comes from. You know, I had the opportunity about 5 or 6 years ago to spend some time up in Rincon in the winter. It was a good chest-high glass. I come from St. Petersburg, Florida. Chest-high and glassy, and most people are, you know, having car accidents trying to get out of work to get to the beach to surf that. You know, I want to see what it's all about. I want to become part of the original area. You know, I want to be where the actual soul of surfing starts when it comes to being a surfer in the United States. You got to go with the flow. When you're surfing, you don't command the wave. The wave commands everything you're going to do.
I started working on surfboards in 1961, so I was about 80 pounds and I had the smallest board on the beach was a 710. Late 70s, as the longboards went out and everyone cut them down to short boards, anything went. The longboards started coming back in late middle 80s. I call my boards that are kind of like the old style boards throwbacks. It's fun to do. It's a good creative outlet. But these are all just shape blanks that I've done. 9, 6, 10 foot. All the way down to these new little starfishes. They look unusual because they have the wing out in the rail, but just creates a lot of lift in the tail and goes with the little keel fins. When it was not that many guys surfing, everyone had one board. Like they wanted a nose ride, so they made the ultimate nose rider. So everybody rode a nose rider. They got tired of nose riding, and then they started getting boards that maneuvered really well. They get tired of maneuvering really well, they got boards that would go fast or ride the tube. So surfboards are pretty much at the whim of the style of riding people want to surf.
My dad shaped my first little 4-foot hollow paddleboard, which by the way I still have in my living room to this day. That was made late 40s. I learned how to belly slide before I knew how to swim.
Surfboards are always going to be changing. True story, Harold Walker said Dewey was skipping out on some of the bigger sets at Malibu on a great swell in '64. And everybody was on fire, but Dewey kept grabbing the big ones and he would skip out on the bottom. And he said, I'm going home to make a fin, I'll be back tomorrow. And they all laughed and said, whatever, Dewey, you know. Well, he came back the next day with a huge hatchet fin. And they all laughed and said, what is that? Well, Dewey went out that day and changed surfing and changed people's opinions forever because he went out and just ripped on that board. California traditional surfing and surfboards started here in Southern California. Dewey enlisted Nat Young in about early 70s, I'm not sure the year, but he brought Nat Young in and they designed some boards. The most famous being the Ski. It performed exceptionally well in bigger waves. Of course, Nat had the talent to ride it, and Dewey, being a great businessman, tapped into that talent and realized that why not get a world champion in the making to help design boards.
This is the best board I've ever had. It's a retro, old school longboard, pintail, 50-50 rail, single fin. It's just a bitchin' all around board.
This is a very special board. It's very dear to us here at the shop. This is a replica of a 1962 that originally would be hand-shaped by Dewey. You can see we put the Rising Sun, the old-style D-fin, on the board. We also put a reverse T-band stringer in the board, which is balsa on the outside and redwood in the center. And it's an olive green tint. And it's made to look just like the boards from 1962, which is really a neat thing. We only build about 6 of them a year. This board was also shaped by Dewey, 1962. He shaped it for the Surforama trade show. It was one of the earliest trade shows where the surfers actually built their boards and went and showed them off. There were 3 built. There was a blue one, a red one, and a black one. The neat thing about this board is it has a 2-inch balsa center, but then it also has a cut and glued figure-8 redwood stringer. So that was all cut apart, glued in, glued back together. And it has the redwood offsets as well.
It started out in the 40s and 50s. You'd only get a surfboard if you knew a guy that would make you one, and he would actually make you one.
Kids can go with their dad and order a handmade 60s style log from their neighbor down the street, and who takes it very seriously, and it's a craft to him, and he'll take endless hours to build this beautiful board for this kid to ride. So it's really neat to see that that's always going to remain the case. Materials that are coming out nowadays are absolutely amazing. You have all these epoxy resins and carbon fibers, and now they're even using aluminum weave in surfboard fabric. So there's amazing things coming out. Surfboards have gotten to the point where they're too light now. The shortboarders are having to go backwards now. They figured out, wow, we took it too far. They're just too light.
I'm strictly on longboards now because of my age, and I don't like paddling with smaller boards. There was a short period of time where I did ride a shortboard because that's the only thing that was available. Like after '66, after the second world contest in San Diego, and Nat Young was riding a smaller board, then the evolution just went way down.
Well, I'm really pleased to see that the return of longboards and where that is headed now. I mean, longboarding is almost mainstream, and through the '80s, I mean, you hardly ever saw anyone on longboards, and it really has come all the way back around. Now you see young kids that just love it and they're really good at it. And then the whole rebirth of the '70s boards and those coming back. I mean, how exciting. Kids now have such an open mind, and they have all this great equipment to draw from. The surfboard evolution has come so far, and there's so much new design out there. But it's neat to see the kids reaching back in the past, and they want to ride those old boards, they want to wear those old wetsuits, and really tap into the cool.
When I just started getting into longboarding, I was getting custom boards made by Skip Fry, And I got this interest in, wanting to make something myself. And Skip gave me the encouragement and started showing me how a board works, the streamlined smoothness, and how the glide works on a surfboard.
The thing is now there's so many people surfing and so many different fragments of people surfing. You can plug in on any end of it. Short boards, long boards, medium boards, nose riders, speed boards, gun boards, tow boards, short floaty boards like fishes. So there's always a lot going on.
Being a surfer, you kind of live every day just thinking about surfing. It's a big part of your life.
This is a dedication that you have to be ready for every morning. You wake up a little rain outside, nah, don't worry about it, I'm going to the beach. You live and breathe surfing when you come to this point with it.
I watched and I burned up a tape of Endless Summer, rewinding it a million times over and over and over again just to watch the section of Lance, Carson, and Mickey Dora at Malibu. And I just wanted to watch how he set up the nose ride and stalled the tail and ran up and was hanging 10 and did it effortlessly. And did it with such style that nobody could come close to doing that and making it look that easy. Because if you go and try, you realize that it's not that easy. He put us on a completely different level as far as showmanship and class in the water.
Our philosophy was to take something that is actually pretty difficult for the average person to do and make it look as graceful and easy as possible. Kind of got us into this erect style where you stand straight and relax your upper body and put your arms down. When guys are getting to a point where everybody's doing it, you want to take it to the next level. So that's how we kind of refine style, was to do it very erect, elegant, and upright, and make it look as easy as possible, all fluid motion.
It doesn't get any better than this. Couple waves and you're happy.
We had our start many years before the big 60s surf boom and going back to the lack of crowds, which logically tells you that we had a lot of free water time. We had a lot of waves to ourselves because the surf boom hadn't happened yet. So there wasn't 100 guys out in the water. On a good day at Malibu, you can go up there like on a 4th of July weekend at 4 feet and see 6 guys out. And if it was really a pump and swell, you caught a lot of waves. Back in the days when Mickey Dora, Johnny Fain, myself, and Bob Cooper were hanging around there. And it was kind of cold, drizzly day. The surface of the water was real glassy, oily, glassy, smooth, and there was a big bonfire on the beach and a bunch of guys wrapped in army blankets standing around, and Bob Cooper and I were out in spring suits, and we were rotating on waves. He'd catch a wave, I'd be paddling out, I'd catch a wave, he'd be paddling out. We evolved into this kind of an unofficial nose riding contest. And he would get both feet up there. I go, okay. So I get both feet up there, and then I'd put an arch on the toes. Then he'd catch a wave, and he'd do a spinner on the nose, and I'd catch another. When we were trying to outdo each other, and the guys on the beach were hooting and hollering, and that was pretty special because that was the kind of fun you had. It was pretty much crowd interrupted, media uninterrupted, and it was really cool because it was all spontaneous, and those memories are hard to come by these days. You know, everybody had a good time, even the guys watching on the beach.
When I'm surfing, it's not a competition. I'm not competing with somebody for the dollar. I'm not competing for somebody for a job. I'm not going out there and making a sale. There's me, there's the wave. It gives me a chance to refocus.
Six-year-old that just dying to go surfing with me as soon as he learns how to swim. He asks me every time, like, when am I going to get to go out? I'm very stoked on that. Now I'll have a surf buddy for life. And I have another son coming. And if my daughter gets in on it, 3 surf buddies.
You know, back in the 60s, parents, they weren't sure if they wanted their kids to surf. Very few parents surf, you know, maybe a few, Robert August's dad, Blackie, and some other ones, but now it's turned into a real family sport. Moms and dads want to do this with their kids.
San Diego to me has been great. It's been very good to me. The people I've met along the way have been phenomenal. I consider a lot of them family.
I'm really proud for surfing with my surf school, Surf Her. It was going to be just for women. But dads and boyfriends and brothers and you know, they would call and say, you know, is it just for women? And I said, no, it's for anyone. And so it's really it's really turned into a family school along with the sport. And it's really great to see surfing really come up. Now it's a legitimate family sport.
Rabbit's my uncle. We do a tremendous amount of things with Rabbit Cake High and bringing the sport to the kids and Rabbit's Foundation. And all I can say is that each one of us that has this experience in our soul and deep embedded in our minds, we got to step out and do something for the sport. And that all starts with the kids and bringing this thing up properly.
Well, I surf a lot down in San Onofre, and San Onofre is a very famous longboard spot. You know, people have been surfing there since the 40s. Very family-oriented. You have a lot of great people that look after one another. Everyone gets along real well. So people are very concerned about preserving that sort of lifestyle down at San Onofre. And that's one of the reasons why I hold San Onofre very dear to my heart. It's a very special place to go surfing.
This one's for free diving. This is a spearfishing suit. It's a 7mm Yamamoto.
There's an actual beaver tail.
They're the real thing. Those are all uni divers, sea urchin divers. Well, that's the thickest there is, 12.8. There's nothing any thicker than that.
All for cold water.
Yeah. So what's up? What are we doing?
Just need to fix the butt and the thing.
Gotcha. This has turned to gold in the last year or two. It's so hard to get. This is a great day to glue. Still shaping, Kevin?
Yeah.
Seen some really nice boards you shape, man. Some beauties, man.
It's always fun to do, something to make. It's like this, you know?
Yeah, it's the same thing. So you guys going to Rincon?
Yeah.
There it is.
Thanks, brother.
You're welcome, man. Get on the road. You don't want to get in trouble.
I've run into a lot of aggressive surfers at different places. You got to paddle out with a better attitude. It isn't your break, you know, it's Mother Nature's break. You paddle out into a lineup, you show respect. When I was growing up, that's what we learned first and foremost. We weren't even allowed to surf with the other guys until we showed respect. We laid on the outside of the shack waiting for our opportunity or for it to be recognized that we understand the pecking order, that we understand the hierarchy.
You know, it's still just the person in the spot is the local, hopefully, and people use that etiquette and you get a lot of waves.
A lot of them need to learn more about how the history of surfing brought the respect in. As they grow up now, there's not that respect. Anybody will burn the next guy. There's no camaraderie. It's more localism. If you don't show respect, you're going to get your butt beat, you know? And that's just the way it is now. It did not used to be that way. It used to be that you earned your spot. You earned your way into the pecking order. And you didn't do those things. And localism, I think, has become one of the most terrifying things to a traveling surfer that you can get into. You never know what you're going to get into when you paddle out in a new break.
I rode shortboards for about 15 years, and I swore up and down I would never ever get on a longboard. I really loved watching Robert August in the endless summer, watching how smooth he surfed, and his dropped knees were just phenomenal. So I wanted to kind of put that into my surfing, and I figured a way to do that would be, you know, get a bigger board. I had a traditional love. Maybe 12 years ago, one summer, it was just so flat, I couldn't stand it any longer. And I got on an old 60s board, I think it was, triple stringer, just the thing was god heavy, just unbelievable. I was stoked. I actually caught a wave. I didn't do any turning on it, but I actually rode the wave, and that was fun. I felt revived again. I bought an egg, and I started riding an egg, and it gave me that shortboard feel, but it also gave me the flotation. I went back to shortboarding, and I didn't find it thrilling anymore. And so I just did a stepping stone thing, and I went bigger and bigger and bigger. And now I ride 10-foot boards, and I got on that because I wanted to smooth out my style. Love it.
Keep the ocean clean. It's not necessarily the surfers themselves, I think, that do it to the ocean. It's what happens inland and goes out through the pipes and ends up in the ocean. This is all things that we have to control, we have to manage. I've been to other countries, and you look at the pollution, their trash is on the beach, the uncleanliness of water. We have a chance to save it here in the States before it can get like that. I hope that people get enough time to travel the world to see some of the mistakes that other countries have made, and we can continue to make the corrections here to keep our ocean clean so we can keep surfing every day. Surfrider Foundation is, as far as organizations in the world, underfunded, I would imagine, by a large amount, comparative amount of coastlines and surfers.
Well, we were involved in the Surfrider Foundation back in the early 80s, and it was Tom Pratt, Glenn Henning, and myself. We had no idea how accelerated the enthusiasm was going to be by all the people that eventually got into it and participated. The problem I had, even with some of the surf clubs up there, was the fact that it's the old, I gave my $100 or whatever, you know, I give once a year, and that's kind of the end of it for a lot of people. And the environment, if you really want to be serious about it, the reality is you've got to have 100% of the people 100% of the time. Probably 10 or 20% of the people doing 80% of the world's population's work. Those odds are tough.
Every day is a surf trip. Some people thinking, you know, to go somewhere and somewhere exotic, that's maybe the best surf trip that they had. But it might have been just packing up the family at the car in the morning and driving to San Onofre or somewhere close to your local beach and having a great day and having lunch and surfing 3 or 4 times and going home. You know, I've had so many of those sessions that probably outweigh going anywhere else far away in the world because I was with my friends and I had a great time, and you know, you can't beat that.
That Buster Drive, that was my dog, wrecked the car. 5, 6, 7 boards in here, 14 wetsuits. If you're gonna get involved in surfing, you better come down here prepared. You know, you gotta come down here like you live here.
I do remember when we were up in Santa Barbara, living at the old Butterfly Lane house. Kemp Alberg, Mike Doyle, myself, a bunch of other guys. That was in the winter of 60, 61. That was one winter when Rincon was really good.
Surfing is such a special sport that I don't think most of the people in the world get it yet. It's something that is so individual, so private, but yet so free that most people never get a chance to experience this. I wish the whole world could get a shot at surfing, and the solace and the pleasure it brings you, because I think people would be happier. It's a sport that is kind of a subculture. It's deep. It's deep in the roots of certain people who've been here since the beginning, and it carries a culture with it, a culture that is full of a lot of respect. And the history of this sport is so great, and the people that brought it forward, boy, what can I tell you? I mean, what a gift they gave the world. This is a sport that takes a lot of thought, takes a lot of feeling, and it's something you have to be dedicated to. You can't just pop down here for a one-day deal, or, you know, it's like if you took 100 people, brought them down here and gave them a short board, you come back a week later, maybe there'd be 5 people left. You bring a longboard down here, the history of surfing down here, you put those same 100 people on that board, you'll come back, you'll find about 80 of them here. So it takes a special person, and it takes an opportunity to get into surfing. Most people don't want to put on a cold wetsuit. They don't want to come down here on a 50-degree day with a 56-degree water and put on a cold wet wetsuit and paddle out. So I have such a strong affiliation with the sport, and so important to my survival and my being on an everyday basis, that I can only recommend it to people. They've got to take the step to come down here and do it. And it's not an easy sport to learn, trust me. I run into a lot of guys, Paul Correa, some of the great hockey players come down here now on Wednesday afternoons, and they're so into the sport, but they say it was harder to learn to surf than it was to be a professional hockey player. You live and breathe the waves, and there's a disappointment factor as well as a happy factor. There's no bad day when you get up to come down here to the beach. There's no bad day when you look at the ocean. There's no bad day when you share a morning with Mother Nature.
I think, you know, surfing, it makes you want to look to the next surf session more than the last surf session, because you're always just striving to get another epic day. So it's not like you have a memorable experience. It just makes you never want to live that over again. You want to get new ones and keep going forward, and, you know, and hope the next day, you know, before satellites and computers telling you how the surf was, you get up and drive to the beach, and as soon as you looked out the door of your car, the surf is up or down, or wow, where'd that swell come from? Well, now people are waiting for 2 weeks ahead of time for it to show up. You know when it's coming, you just hope that you get it, and that's what kind of keeps you stoked. What is coming, not what's already hit.
I started surfing here in San Diego when I was about 13, 17 years ago. Ever since I got into the water, it's consumed my life and taken over me. Like all surfers know, every chance you get, you go out in the ocean and you can't get enough of it and you love it. All I really wish I could do for the rest of my life is be as lucky as I have been and travel and surf and have a great time. I traveled abroad for a couple of years, took a little bit of time off, I should say, and cruised around. People didn't know where I was at, heard rumors that I was in Australia, heard I was living in Japan. I thought it was kind of a cool thing because nobody knew where I was at and what I was doing. And it's kind of a better thing, I think. I traveled around and got enough of the outside world to realize that I love Southern California a bunch.
Well, I was just a little kid, probably about 10 or 12, and I was in the junior lifeguard program in Oceanside. I used to see the lifeguards surfing, and then Phil Edwards was there. I used to surf with him every day almost, you know, during high school years.
The early color movies, Bruce Brown and a lot of those guys, Phil Edwards was always the star guy. He was the guy that had the most control. And I remember one day a big south swell, it was like 12 plus, and this is in the early 60s, and Phil Edwards was out. And we couldn't wait to get down there and wax up, but a big old cranking set came through, and we saw Phil Edwards going backside, doing his backside turns and riding up high toward the front of his board and hitting the bowl. And as the bowl broke above him, he would just kind of backpedal and take a bow-legged stance and go under these giant walls. And I was so blown away by the ease at which he did this and the control on such a powerful backside wave. Most of the guys that were ready to wax up and go out just sat on the beach and watched.
Phil Edwards was probably one of the better surfers in California.
I was stoked to be able to have a chance to try to explain and express my feeling, because the one thing I wanted to get out of the whole thing, and same with my shaping, was to give back the feeling that I get when I am riding a wave and I'm having fun. Because you know, if I can go nose ride for a long time and hang 10 and have a great time, and that was one of the best waves I just have ever had, I want to instill that feeling to somebody else. I want to give them a board and make them a board, you know, or write a book and teach them and try to give this and pass this on to everybody else so they can have as much fun as I have fun. Smile, hang 10, and have a great day.
Give a wave, share a wave, and you'll find that when the right wave comes, everybody will be out of your way for you to ride it the way you want to ride it. But in the meantime, don't get too hyped up if somebody in front of you or somebody behind you. Just share the wave and use that to ride and kind of groove with somebody, and when the wave gets intense, you'll have it to yourself and take advantage of it, but don't get too upset. Kind of like driving in a traffic jam. Roll up the window, turn on the air conditioning, put on your favorite CD, just flow with it. I've been surfing like 45 years, and you can't get jaded because you know how great surfing is.
We're not going to see less surfers. We're not going to see more breaks. So we got to all learn to get together. We all got to learn to enjoy the fact that we have probably the greatest gift in the world, the opportunity to surf. And if we don't start taking care of it, we don't take care of each other by showing the compassion and the understanding that each one of us has a special thing inside of us, or we wouldn't be down here in 50-degree water putting on a wetsuit and paddling out together. And something for the new surfers coming into this, come on you guys, you know, this is your first experience, make it a good one. Don't take off in front of somebody. Don't paddle out at the best break in the world when you can barely stand up. Go down the beach a little bit. You know, get into the camaraderie and the sportsmanship that's involved in this thing and enjoy yourself, and don't make it tougher for the guys that have been here.
My very first wave I ever caught was Lake Michigan. It was on a boogie board. I rode it all the way up to the beach, and from that point on I was stoked. It was just freezing cold, but I was hooked.
When I first started out, there was very few surfers. There was probably only about, I grew up in Oceanside, and it's probably maybe 10 people when I first started, and it's grown to thousands now.
In the early 60s around San Diego, definitely a lot more camaraderie. It'd be the Sunset Cliff boys and the Mission Beach boys and the Ocean Beach and the La Jolla and the La Jolla Shores and the PB, and we all wanted everyone to come surf with us. You know, get your 10, 15 guys that surf the shores and come down to Crystal Pier and surf there. Now you go down to the local parking lot and you don't recognize a car or a person.
In the late 50s and the 60s, you know, we didn't have the freeways. We just had 101. North San Diego County people knew Pacific Beach, La Jolla, and on up the coast, Oceanside, you know, it was Phil and LJ. And you knew Robert August and all that crew, and you knew the Albergs at Santa Barbara. If there was a board on the car, you knew them. So it was just a close group. And now it's huge. Surfing is huge.
Surfing's on TV now, you know, as a mainstream. I hope that people still get custom boards for the next however long I'll be around shaping.
I've learned that if I don't come down here every day, there's something wrong with me. You know, my life isn't full.
Surfing's just been such a big part of my life since I was 12 years old. That's what I've lived for.
Well, I'm 62 years old. Who would have thunk it back when I was a little kid walking up and down the beach, belly slide on my little board, that I'd be here doing this now.
Love the ocean, enjoy the ride. And take care of the ocean. I think we really have to do that if we want to keep surfing.
And all I can tell you is you should have been here yesterday because it's not like it was today.
You can't always control your surroundings, you can't always command the circumstances of your life, but you can control yourself. And you can go with the flow and make the best of every situation that you get put in.
What I try to put into my surfing style is a little piece of everybody. Lance Carson is just a phenomenal surfer, just very smooth, very effortless. Just like Bruce Brown said in Endless Summer, you know, it looks like he could eat a ham sandwich on a nose. And it's true. And then Robert August, I have to give my drop knee credit to him. Just beautiful to watch. And then everything else, you just kind of blend it in and it becomes you.
And the old adage, the student outdoing the teacher, well, that happens in surfing all the time now because the younger guys just suck up everything they can get and just exhaust all that new information and then go on the next level.
You get to a certain point, I think, where you don't really have any heroes. At first, when you're learning something you do because you look up to somebody, you want to be like that person. And then you get to a certain level, it's almost like equality in a way. You know, you've kind of accomplished what you admired, and now you're kind of blending everything in, and now you're your own hero.
Let me tell you a little story.
You see how matted my hair is? This is what happens to surfers if we don't take care of the ocean. The pollution from the water does this to your body and your hair.
Wash it, brother.
So much Mexican food, such a small colon.
If you have aloha spirit in your soul, then you're living a good life.
Thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed it.